Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. And we've got the details here for the very first hotfix to all of the new changes that came into effect with Season 9. So we've got some nerfs here, I'm afraid. We've got Zen nerfs that are quite heavy. Lucio gets nerfed. We see a Hanzo nerf, a Widowmaker nerf, a Soldier nerf. You can probably guess where most of these nerfs are aimed at. It is the projectile size. But I'm going to break all of this down because I think there might be... Well, there's some things I think are missing from this patch. So let's start with the tank heroes. Roadhog gets a buff. Now, take a breather. Damage reduction is being increased from 40 to 50%. Now, he very definitely needs this. Roadhog has been one of the worst performing tanks as of Season 9 just because he's so easy to hit. So you have to remember the DPS passive, which isn't being changed in this patch, by the way, reduces healing by 20%. So DPS are shooting Roadhog, which is quite easy to do. And obviously DPS have got bigger projectile size, so it's even easier to hit Roadhog. But Roadhog's tank ability completely depends on the fact that he self-heals. And of course, like if he's doing 20% less self-healing, it's not as good as it used to be, take a breather. So it did need to be buffed. So what they're doing here is giving him damage reduction of an increase of 10%. So it's going from 40 to 50. So you'll be able to use take a breather when you are taking damage, not for the heal effect. Well, you are using it for the heal effect, but you're also getting the increased damage reduction as well. So yeah, it's going to help him, but I don't think it's going to be much of a change, to be fair to Roadhog. D.Va gets a projectile size change when she's Baby D.Va. So base projectile size is being reduced from 0.25 to 0.2 meters. So the total projectile size is now 0.3 meters. Now, a lot of this doesn't really make any sense when I'm reading the numbers out because you need to see visual examples of this. The thing is, though, it's just getting smaller, so it'll be harder to hit with the Bunny Blaster, but it's still probably going to be quite easy. Zarya, now she again is one of the worst tanks of this patch, so it's actually good that Blizzard are looking at buffing some of the worst tanks. So Zarya's been really poor, and what they're doing is buffing her damage output. So primary fire, the minimum damage is increasing from 85 to 95 damage per second, so a 10 damage increase per second there straight up on primary fire. And then primary fire maximum damage is increased from 170 to 190. So when you're fully charged, you're going to be doing 190 damage now instead of 170. This is going to be actually pretty good, I think, because you've got to remember all of this is in conjunction with that new DPS passive. If Zarya is attacking the other tank that is being attacked by your team's DPS, Zarya is now doing more damage to them. The question will be, is it actually going to make her viable? Because tanks have got an issue at the moment in Overwatch where you basically need to use line of sight. You cannot stand in the middle of the map. You'll just get destroyed. Now, this is the way Overwatch used to be all the time. You know, you go out into the open, you'd take space as a tank, and you'd run forward. You'd be depending on your supports to keep you alive, and off you go. But now that isn't the case. Now you kind of have to be clever. You have to use line of sight blockers, you have to use terrain, you have to use walls, you have to peek out, peek in, all of that stuff. And yeah, tanking has become a bit of a different game. Although this is the reason why we're seeing tanks like Ball and Winston being pretty good at the moment, and even D.Va, is because, well, they're dive tanks, they're mobile tanks. They can sort of get themselves out of those bad positions if they find themselves in them. So yeah, but yeah, Zarya, it's a buff, and I think it's going to help. Now, notably, there's no buff here to Reinhardt. They're just leaving him as is. And yeah, those are the three tanks that are being changed. So let's move on to the damage heroes. Now, first up, we get Hanzo. So Hanzo is getting a projectile size reduction because, of course, the meme was always Hanzo's firing logs. Now he was literally firing entire trees because it was stupid. Now it's being reduced down. Again, these are just numbers I'm going to spurt at you guys. It's going to be hard to sort of gauge what the change is off this, but just know that it's getting smaller, so there should be less random headshots from Hanzo. So base projectile size is being reduced from 0.1 to 0.075, and the total projectile size is now 0.175 meters. Junkrat. Now, Junkrat is, again, one of the worst DPSs at the moment in the game. So you can see there is a little bit of a trend here. Like when you look at the tank changes, now we're getting into these damage changes. They are trying to buff the heroes that are just woefully terrible in this new game. And what they're doing to Junkrat is, in fact, before I get into this, I'll explain why Junkrat is so bad. You basically need 3 direct hits with Junkrat to kill a squishy target. That's like very hard to pull off. Very, very hard to pull off. So he needs a damage increase, right? But are you just going to straight up increase his primary fire damage? No, because that'd probably be sort of a bit over the top. But what they're doing is this. So concussion mine, the cooldown is being decreased by 1 second. So it's now 7 seconds instead of 8. Maximum damage is being increased from 110 to 120. So you got that plus 10 there. And then minimum damage is increased from 20 to 55. So that's actually a really big buff there. So Concussion Mine is going to be a lot more deadly for Junkrat. That should help him in those sort of close range fights, you know, where you can just throw it at the other DPS's face when they're point blank on you. Of course, like heroes like Tracer, which are just incredibly powerful right now, would still destroy Junkrat in a 1v1. But now, at least he's got a bit more... Well, he's got more options, I suppose, because he can do more damage with his Concussion Mine at close range. Soldier 76. So this is a big one. This is one we all expected. I expected this because it was just stupid. So what they're doing is reducing the size of his projectile, so no shock there. And he will now use the smaller 0.05 meter hit scan projectile size modifier. Total projectile size is now 0.05 meters. Again, these are all just numbers, like who cares? But it basically means he's going to be using the smaller hit scan projectile size instead of the one he was using before, which made it ludicrously easy to land shots on enemies, which, of course, if you're playing Soldier, you're a rapid-fire hero, it's very easy to track. You can just output loads and loads of damage. So he's being nerfed, and I think everybody expected that to happen. So on to Tracer. Now, Tracer is the best DPS in the game. I think, without a doubt. She's just incredibly powerful. She benefits from the global healing passive, I guess all heroes have got. She benefits from the DPS new passive. She just benefits from the projectile side. She just benefits from everything. Really, really strong. And what they're doing is they're not changing her projectile size. They're actually the minimum fall off range is being reduced from 12 to 10 meters on pulse pistols. So sort of reining her in a little bit there. I still think she's going to be very strong though, and we might see more changes coming to Tracer in the future. But yeah, really strong hero right now. And the last DPS hero, it's Widowmaker. So again, this is a hero everyone expected to see changed. I think there was a developer interview, and I'm sort of going off memory here with these figures, but I think they said Widow's overall accuracy had gone up by 10% or something across the player base, which is too high. So obviously it had to be reduced. Now, we know this. If you played the game, you know Widow is extremely oppressive just because it's so easy to land headshots. It was almost like Widow was firing the old Hanzo primary fire size hitbox, although she was a hit scan hero. And of course, if she was being damage boosted, it was just ridiculous. And yeah, so she was broken basically. So they are reining her in, and what they're doing is she now uses the 0.05 meter hit scan projectile size modifier, which is the same as Soldier 76 in the new changes. And scoped shot damage fall off min max range is being increased from 40 to 60, sorry, to 50 to 70 meters. So this is all to try and make her less oppressive. It's going to help, but I still think she's going to be pretty good. And finally, let's move on to the support hero. So Illari, Illari is like one of these new heroes that is just nobody plays her. Illari, Mauga, they're just all Life Weaver, I suppose. They're all at the bottom of the pick rates. They're all like not very effective in the game. Maybe it's something to do with the new hero design not being very good. I actually quite like Illari to play her, but she's just not effective. Like, she just is not effective at all in the game. So you're almost throwing when you pick her. But again, Blizzard have identified this, it would seem, and they are trying to buff the lesser heroes. So what they're doing is this. Healing Pylon gets a pretty big buff. So the cooldown is being decreased from 8 to 6 seconds. That's a massive buff. And cooldown when destroyed by enemies is being decreased from 15 to 12 seconds. So a pretty big buff there to Healing Pylon. And we know this can be really strong. And this used to be sort of the source of her original power when she launched, was a really, really strong Healing Pylon. That was nerfed to the point it is now. And of course now it's being buffed again. Not quite to the levels it was at when it launched, I believe, but it's still being buffed quite a bit. The other change she gets is to her ultimate. So Captive Sun, the Sunstruck explosion damage has been increased from 100 to 160. That is massive, but remember, this is in the new world of all the heroes having more health. Because you kind of need this anyway. So this is almost like just rebalancing her for the new Season 9 changes. And the Sunstruck explosion now has damage fall off again, reducing damage by up to 25%. So some, I think, decent changes there to Illari, but I just think a problem is her healing isn't very good. Like, when the pylon's destroyed, it's very hard for her to actually get into effective positions to heal, and a primary fire isn't really that great at range. There's a lot of other supports out there you just should play. They're just better straight out, you know, like, or straight up, I should say, like Batiste. It's going to do load more damage. Just play him or play Anna, you know. But now this is a sad one. This is Lucio. He gets nerfed. So Lucio mains, we're having quite a good time with Lucio because it was quite easy to land his primary fire. It's getting nerfed. So the base projectile size on the sonic amplifier is being reduced from 0.15 meters to 0.1 meters. So the total projectile size is now 0.25. Now, again, like I said, it's just a load of numbers. All this means is it's going to be smaller now, his projectile, so it'll be harder for him to hit. A bit of a shame because Lucio, I think it's great when Lucio's strong in the game because it actually makes for a faster game of Overwatch in a lot of ways because, well, everyone gets speed boost, right? Mercy gets nerfed, although I think this is just in reaction to a lot of sort of clickbaity meme TikToks I've seen going around where they've got Mercy in the training range shooting like tracers and whatever, and they're nowhere near her hitbox, but the projectile size is so big on the blaster, it's hitting them, and it looks absolutely stupid. So they've gone in and nerfed that. It literally, I don't think this makes any difference really to Mercy. But basically, these are the details. So the projectile size is reduced from 0.25 to 0.2 meters. So the total projectile size is now 0.3 meters. Again, it's just numbers, but it just means it's smaller. And the final change in support is actually quite a sad one. So this is Zen. Again, when Zen is strong, I think the game's actually pretty good. Maybe it's just because I like playing Zen, I don't know. But Zen is being nerfed. So his base health is getting a pretty hefty nerf. So it was 100, it's being reduced to 75. Remember, he's still got shields as well. And his kick, so snap kick, the knockback is decreased by 25%. So I think it's a bit sad. Like, Zen and Lucio, I kind of didn't want them nerfed, but I guess I can understand the Zen nerfs. I think the Zen issue, though, it's not really any of this. It's the fact he's got Discord Orb, and Discord Orb in a world of the new DPS passive of minus 20% healing is just absolutely devastating. Again, for the tanks, you throw Discord on a tank, your DPS attack that tank is just going to blow up. You know, so it's a nerf to Zen. I don't really think it solved too much. But yeah, I do agree he's been pretty strong at the moment, but I think it's because of his Discord Orb, really. So that's it. Now, like I said at the top of the video, I think people are expecting more changes. Now, what we've got to remember here is this isn't the mid-season patch. This is a hotfix. This is a change which is just trying to address some of the issues. And I look through the patch notes again, and I think to myself, actually, Soldier needed addressing, Widow needed addressing, right? And Tracer needed addressing. I think beyond that, and Hanzo and Junkrat. So basically a load of DPS needed addressing. I think they've done that. I think for the tanks, like, yeah, looking at Zarya is okay, looking at Roadhog's okay because they're not really very viable. There's going to be a lot of Reinhardt mains out there going, well, what are we supposed to do in this game? We're just getting absolutely destroyed. You know, Blizzard have not done any changes to him yet. Maybe some are coming down the line. And I think there's a load of other heroes. I want you guys to let me know in the comments below what you think about these patches. I think it's good in one way that they've done this fast, and it hasn't taken them like weeks to deploy this, because in the past it has taken them like they just literally wait until the mid-season patch, so we'd have to play through a meta, which wouldn't be very great. They're not doing that. But the other thing is, when the mid-season patch comes, it gives them more space to add more changes in. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they're going to do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching the video, and yeah, I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.
Fields up.